Welcome into the Fantasy Football Diagnostics Podcast, where we provide you with your weekly diagnosis of everything fantasy football. Whether it's season-long leagues, dynasty, DFS, or sometimes even IDP, we got you covered all year long. Let's do it. Let's get to it. Welcome into the Fantasy Football Diagnostics Podcast. I'm your host, John June, and happy Monday here. Got my guy, Greg Penniman. Greg, what's shaking, brother? Greg, we got you there? Looks like we're having some technical difficulties as we lose Greg over there on the other side. But yeah, it's Monday. Recapping a wonderful week one of NFL football. And there was a lot of fantasy reactions to come out of this game. Obviously, this is the Fantasy Football Diagnostics Podcast, where you can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, Apple Podcast. I might have said that already. But yeah, so you can also watch us live on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch. So yeah, trying to see if we can get Greg back here. Remove him and see if we can add him back. Greg, are you with us now? Greg, are you good? All right, seems like Greg is going to try to rejoin us when we get as he sorts out activity issues. So, yeah, we're going to continue to press forward in this podcast here and act as if none of this is a problem. Greg, are you good? Are you back with us? Nope. Okay. So moving on to our quarterback studs. Obviously, if you don't know what this show is, on Monday we recap the week that was, breaking down all of the action from the week and trying to see if we can navigate a situation here in fantasy football where we don't want to overreact to a lot of what's happened throughout the week, right? So a lot we spend all summer and sometimes play potentially even longer prognosticating and coming up with opinions and reacting to information, and then week one comes and football's played and some of us receive a punch to the gut, and we're unable to really process what might have just occurred there. So, Greg, are you back with us? It sounds like you have audio.
Back. I think I'm here, yo. I'm here.
Yes, sir. It was rough there for a second. I didn't know. I thought you fell off the train, but it seems like you got back on.
Yeah, word. I don't know what happened. I'm good to be back. Hopefully, I can stay. I mean, we'll see what happens.
We went from playing where's Greg to like really where's Greg?
Word. Facts.
So yeah, Greg, I was just saying, we don't want to overreact to a lot of stuff that happens, and we spend so much time prognosticating and whatnot. That we really can it really feels like a punch to the gut when week one comes and some of the guys that you took higher in your drafts don't perform up to snuff.
Yeah, man, it's a tough week after week one. The tilt is very real. I just saw a tweet. Actually, I saw a tweet where this guy had Dak Prescott on his roster, Najee Harris, Eli Mitchell, Allen Robinson. I don't know if you saw this tweet as well. T. Higgins, like all on the same roster. Kyle Pitts and C.D. Lamb. Like some of that's a good. That's a if you gave me that lineup in the beginning of week one, I would have been like, okay, I definitely have a chance. If not, I'm favored to win a matchup. But you know that happens. Some by injury, which is that happens in the NFL. No matter what, you can't predict that. You can't call that. And somewhere by bad performances, week one situation. But yeah, definitely don't want to overreact. That's definitely not the thing we want to do here. We want to react. We want to be able to assess what happened. Is it something that could be long term? Because it could be based on the situation. But for a lot of these cases, it's the ups and downs of the season that you're going to get. And um, yeah, situations will change. A lot of these guys that are going to be up there are gonna come back in week two in the future.
Yeah, and we'll get into a lot of it, as as we get through the show. And uh, some guys we're not going to really talk about from that perspective are these quarterback studs.
Oh
And
nah,
the
oh
first
nah.
one we're going to talk about is this guy.
Woo,
And
Patty.
got to get it one time,
Yes.
Patrick Mahomes, quarterback of the Kansas City Chiefs, of course, 30 of 39, 360 passing yards, 5 passing touchdowns, no interceptions. Also added 5 yards rushing, 34.9 points in your
Mm.
standard PPR scoring format for quarterbacks. Just a phenomenal reminder of
To you.
he to me that he's him, and I need to respect him. So, it's cool. I do not that I don't respect Patrick Mahomes. I have been on this platform before and said that he is the
Is
most
yeah,
gifted person I've ever seen play that position. So
it's
I'm
true.
not. I don't think he's not talented. I think he's very good. Just this team being unstoppable is the narrative that I don't really agree with. But 360 passing yards, 5 touchdowns, phenomenal performance, Greg. I know this one, tickled your fancy. What do you have to say about Patrick Mahomes and his performance on Sunday?
Hey man, this is Patty. It doesn't matter when you're as gifted as you say. I agree. He's probably the best. He's the best quarterback I've ever seen in my lifetime. It doesn't matter who's around you. He's going to be able to elevate. That's the elevation element that only very very few people can do. And yeah, I mean you have Andy Reid too. The coach system is just perfect for him as well. Uh, and now he just has so many weapons. Like he has the McCall Harmons, Clyde Edwards-Helaire out the backfield. Just yeah, Travis Kelsey as normal. Um, Definitely going to be able to spread the ball out a lot this year, which would be nice for them as a team as a whole.
Definitely nice. I mean, if you watched the broadcast, all you probably heard that some guy named Tyreek Hill no longer plays for the Kansas City Chiefs, and how Patrick Mahomes would be just fine without him, because it seemed to be all that they would ever talk about every time that he dropped back to pass. It was like, oh, guess he doesn't need Tyreek Hill.
That's it. It's been the talk of the entire day for Patrick Mahomes. Like, yeah. I mean, and then Ryan Clark from ESPN had him actually a good point. They can both exist. Like, Tua can be great with Tyreek Hill, and Patrick Mahomes can be fine without Tyreek Hill.
Correct. I totally agree with that statement. Um, Moving on to the QB2 on the week, and we kind of talked about this guy already, but it was Josh Allen. I mean, we got to give him his dues. 26 of
Absolutely.
31, 297 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 10 carries, 56 rushing yards, and a rushing touchdown, 31.48 fantasy points there. If you went into, after the end of the Thursday night, you had Josh Allen, you probably felt really good about your chances of winning your matchup. I know in the 2 leagues I have Josh Allen, I did, so I felt really good about it. But Greg, what we talked about this one, but your thoughts on Josh Allen here?
Yeah, just adding on how impressive it was of a start, and to mention that they had about 3 turnovers in that first half. They lost 3 possessions on that team, and he still ended up with a monster day. Like that just shows that if they have a better game offensively, that's not his cap. He can get better than this. So yeah, Josh Allen, the sky's the limit.
Agreed there. Moving on to the quarterback 3 on the week. And tell me if you saw this one coming. That'd be this guy, Carson Wentz. 27 of 41, 313 yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Also added 12 rushing yards, 27.72 fantasy points in standard quarterback scoring. Greg, your thoughts on this performance here by Carson Wentz?
Yeah, definitely love the 41 pass attempts. That's good for a lot of pieces on the Commanders, and what they can do. I mean, he got it to a lot of pieces. Jahan Dodson, Terry McLaurin, Antonio Gibson out there showing his wide receiver skills for his previous wide receiver skills out there. So yeah, it definitely gives life to the people around him. So I'm happy about that, and his game was great. So I like the fact that he's going to get a lot of more shots down the field, and that's going to be important in this offense.
Most definitely, for sure. This game, did we get the? Let me check the
28-22.
28-22. I think that we hit the over there. Nope. Oh yeah, we did. We did because
50?
it was 50.
Nice.
Yep. Nice. So, pending Monday Night Football, I went 9-7. No, 9-5. Or sorry, can't do math right now. 9-6 against the totals. 8-5, 8-7 against the spreads, and then 8-7 on the outright winners. But would have been easy 9-6 if I just took Patrick Mahomes. But anyways, quarterback studs rounding out the rest of those guys. Greg's quarterback start of the week, Jalen Hurts, coming in as the quarterback 4.
Oh, thank you. That's nice.
Justin Herbert coming in at 5. Jameis Winston, our collective quarterback.
Let's go. Okay.
Tyler Murray coming in at 7.
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson 8. Marcus Mariota 9. Ryan Tannehill 10. And Kirk Cousins coming in at 11. And Joe Burrow rounding it out as the QB 12. Greg, any of these performances in this top 12 here really catch your eye or stick out to you?
Definitely, Jalen Hurts and Jameis Winston doing what they got to do. I mean, especially with those effects, it just makes you feel a little better about those picks. Kirk Cousins always finishing as a QB1. Need to, give him his respect as a QB1 in fantasy for sure, especially with that man Jeff. And yeah, the fact that Joe Burrow had so many turnovers and still finished as right around there is definitely impressive.
Yeah, it's a constant reminder of why when you are watching quarterbacks, you don't freak out.
Yeah.
Because that
Yeah.
stat line could very, very quickly change. I was watching this game. Joe Burrow, I think I had ranked as like the quarterback 10 on the week. And I was watching the start of this game and I was just like, wow, can't believe I ranked him so high, like
And they should have won. He gave him a chance. Crazy.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy, right? The guy that you don't talk about unless you have to talk about him is the long snapper, and the Cincinnati Bengals long snapper tore his bicep apparently in this game.
That's why
And
them snaps are so off. Oh man, yo.
and so what happens in that situation, Greg, is they start going around and they ask, okay, who's long snapped before? So you get some guy who's long snapped in like high school or college, maybe, if you're lucky. So yeah, it's
Brutal.
those small little things that lead to wins and losses in the NFL, right? So crazy
True.
stuff. But some honorable mentions, Baker Mayfield, we said we wouldn't touch him, but came through with a rushing touchdown to finish as the quarterback 13. Daniel Jones, I mean, I don't even know how he finished as the quarterback 14. Like, this stat line is this true? Okay, no, sorry. I saw his completion percentage and thought that it was his yardage total.
No. Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, he did throw the long touchdown pass to Sterling Shepard. That definitely helped his yardage.
Yeah, he had
Um,
188 yards passing,
it,
two passing touchdowns
yeah,
at 5 yards rushing. So, and then
yeah,
Jared Goff coming in at 15. And Davis Mills, coming up against the Colts again. Not looking to play him that week, in this particular matchup, but I think in future matchups, he's a guy that will be streaming for sure as these weeks come on.
yeah. He finished higher than 2 in Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah. Speaking of Trevor Lawrence, he was my start of the week.
It's a great segue. Great segue.
Great segue to end up on the Jags list. Not because he plays for the Jags, because if you haven't watched this before, just those guys that you could have gone to the waiver wire, started like Davis Mills, and they would have been better. Baker Mayfield, he was the guy we talked about.
Yep.
You started him. Would have been Marcus Mariota, widely available. Had you started him, you would have been better off than starting just a guy like Trevor Lawrence here, who was my start of the week. But again, if you watch this game, I actually don't feel terrible about it because he attempted 42 pass attempts. He had over 200 and I think it was like 270 passing yards or something like that. But had some dropped touchdown passes. There were some drives that they couldn't convert. And so there was I think if you were watching Red Zone, the Jags made it down to the red zone like 4 times and
Yeah,
they couldn't
I was always watching him. Yeah.
get points. So, don't feel completely terrible. The result wasn't great, but the process was there, and so it sucks to be wrong. I'll be wrong about things. I'll be right about things too, but that one hurt, especially because I'll tell you why. And I told Greg this before we jumped on air. I don't just come on here and say Trevor Lawrence start of the week and then go back about my business and doing my own stuff. Like I think Trevor Lawrence over Russell Wilson, who. So we'll see how this goes. It's a 2-quarterback league. Started Kyler Murray. So I was like, I'm going to start Trevor Lawrence. I want this upside. I feel the matchup is great, and I went with it. So
Happens. I started Trey Lance over Jameis in the 2-quarterback league. Definitely should have, listened to, paying attention to the weather alerts. Definitely take away from this. Always, pay attention when John is saying those tickers, how the weather's going to be, and if it's in the dome or not. It's important. The rain came like crazy out of nowhere, though, like hours leading up. And then I was like, oh, man.
I mean, if you are a day one, then you will know that we did not always talk about the weather on this show.
No.
But there was a week, and I don't know if you remember it, Greg, but there was a week, I think Deshaun had played against Cleveland, like Houston played the Browns, and Deshaun Watson like played in a monsoon, and there was like a lot of hurricanes and like a lot of like bad weather games. And I remember all the analysis being like completely off because of this. And now we get weather reports. So
There you go.
Always trying to get better, always trying to evolve, sort of like Trey Lance is trying to do with every start that he takes. And so, he definitely was somebody that, I mean, I said it, like, I'm not going to play Trey. Like, I don't want to play Trey Lance this week, right? Like, if I have Kirk Cousins, I'm going to play Kirk Cousins over Trey Lance, right? Like, it was the combination of the weather. It was the fact that this game was going to be low scoring. So yeah, I think better days are definitely ahead for Trey Lance for sure. I just think that given the situation that they were in on Sunday, it was not ideal. Other guys that didn't come through, Tom Brady, was another guy that I had mentioned. Aaron Rodgers was another guy that I know we both mentioned. Dak Prescott was a guy that I know I said he was a good play. Like I thought objectively he was definitely a good play given the game script. He was a terrible play even before the injury. Like you couldn't even Like before the injury, like you could say, oh, if you didn't watch the game, you're like, oh, Dak got hurt. That's why you put up 4.9. It's like, no, Dak put up 4.9 because like the Cowboys sucked.
Yeah. He is my QB bust of the year, but I didn't expect this for sure. Didn't expect the single digits, and yeah, they just couldn't move the ball on the outside. The O line is, was gonna suffer a little bit, and yeah, the running game didn't. Yeah, all facets they were just not good.
Yeah, it turns out that Dak Prescott's out for 6 to 8 weeks. I mean, we've
Yep.
got a bunch of other injuries as well, which
So many.
we'll get into them as the show goes on. But for those that are watching on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, we do have graphics that are updated for things such as this. So you'll see Dak Prescott's out 6 to 8 weeks, and all these other injuries that are of the week that are going on the bottom ticker here. And yeah, obviously, like I said, we'll discuss them as we get further into the show. But moving on to, Greg, did you want to get into any other Jags? I know.
No, I
I
think
have
we
Derek
mentioned
Carr and Matthew
all
Stafford
of them.
both on this list, but
Yeah, Derek Carr had a chance to be great, but he always those key picks that you just like, Derek Carr, man. Just every time.
I'm so glad I didn't make him my start of the week. I mean, it wouldn't have mattered, but because I made Trevor Lawrence, but I guess it ultimately didn't matter. So
Yeah.
it doesn't matter.
At least it doesn't affect Devonte. That's all that matters.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely
Yeah.
not. Moving on to these running back studs.
Crazy.
The number one running back on the week. It's a guy I know you're familiar with, Greg. Saquon
20,
Barkley.
2019, yo.
18 carries,
28.
164 yards, 1 touchdown, averaged 9.1 yards per carry in this game. Had 6 receptions on 7 targets for 30 yards, 33.4 PPR points. You say 2019 Saquon Barkley, Greg. I
I did.
counter that 2019 Saquon Barkley would not have been caught from behind. So
Oh, true. You're right on that. Yeah. The one where the guy fumbled it bounced it out from the outside. 2 of them actually. 2
yeah, he
long
got
ones.
caught
He
twice.
got caught. You're right. But yeah, great performance by Saquon Barkley. He did carry the team to a win, actually, man. You talk about how Daniel Jones got those numbers. It seemed like it was all Saquon, especially after Daniel Jones threw that interception in the red zone. You thought it was over, but Saquon was able to, get it back down the field for them, get the 2-point conversion when they shouldn't have got that 2-point conversion to begin with. Yeah, it was an excellent game by him. Just a great football game all around. Saquon, good to see him back, and yeah, he'll continue to. I think definitely to get better and stronger throughout the year.
Yeah, most definitely. He was a guy that I was probably too high on last year. This year I think I had him as RB10 or so coming into the year. This week though, I know you were banging the drum for him this week too, Greg. He was somebody that we both really liked this week, and I think this new look Giants under Brian Daboll, they're gonna feed him. I mean, my man had 25 opportunities in this one.
Love it.
Like, almost 200 yards from scrimmage. I mean, that's the Saquon that we're used to seeing, right? Like, for sure. The RB2 on the week, I mean, this was a given.
You already
Jonathan
know.
Taylor, JT.
Yes,
But
sir.
the part that's awesome to me here, 31 attempts, 161 rushing yards, 1 rushing touchdown, 7
targets. That's
in the
ooh.
pass game, 14 yards in the pass game. Who cares? But 4 receptions on 14 yards, right? That's this 38 opportunities. 38 for Jonathan Taylor. 27.5 PPR points. Greg, speak to it.
I don't even know what to say, man. It's just insane. Like he's getting the 7 targets on top of the 31 rushing attempts. It's like, oh man, they just are deciding to give it to him the ball and let him eat in any way possible. Just even if it was 14 yards, yeah, you get the extra 4 points right on top of that in PPR leagues. Like that's the difference between like getting a 40-point day almost, because he's gonna have games where he gets multiple touchdowns. Yeah, man, this is why you drafted the number 1 overall, without a doubt. JT, man, it's gonna just keep on rolling.
Yeah, no, he's definitely going to, keep on rolling for sure. That volume is great to see. The pass game usage is great to see. I mean, again, this is a guy that he's in his prime right now. So, just continuing to just,
Yeah,
use up all soak up all those fancy points that he's scoring for these
a
next
Derrick
three
Henry
drives.
stat line with 7 targets, like that's crazy.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
The RB3 on the week was a guy that I definitely was about was my start of the week.
yes,
DeAndre
sir.
Swift.
Yeah,
DeAndre Swift came in 15 carries, 144 rushing yards, one rushing touchdown there, 3 targets for 3 receptions, 31 receiving yards, 26 and a half PPR points there. Greg, your thoughts on the performance by Swift?
yeah, those 2 rushing touchdowns that Jamal Williams had, like the play before both of those was a huge DeAndre Swift run. Like he got him down there uh both times. Like he's been had a great big play activity yesterday. So you love to see it, and you love to see him have success on the ground game. They always the one weakness people always say about Swift is that he's not a very good pure rusher. For him to get 15 carries and get 144 on out of 15 carries is great, because the targets are going to come. So that's just added bonus for DeAndre Swift.
Yeah, he was killing them in the long runs. Just kind of gashing them for plays. It was frustrating as a Swift manager, and him being my start of the week there, to watch Jamal Williams come
Yeah,
in and get these
yeah.
these
Like a
goal
play
line
after,
tutties,
man. Yeah,
man.
word. I know.
It was
I
so
mean,
it was definitely harsh to watch, but
yeah,
Swift. I mean, there'll be more of those opportunities. Like you said, I want to see more involvement in the pass game. This guy should definitely continue to live up to the draft status that you have for him.
yes, sir.
Uh, we got a question here from Z Smitty. Says, should I feel comfortable dropping Gallup or Ayuk for Garrett Wilson, Robbie Anderson, Dodson, or DJ Shark? Uh, I'm going to answer this question in 2 ways. A, I'm not going to overreact on Ayuk. I think everything that happened in that game with Trey Lance and the weather, you kind of have to throw out. Um, that's not a data point that you can really gather much information from. Um, but I'll also answer that question by saying that just depending on your league, if it's a 10-team league or a 12-team league, and how many wide receivers you have to start, that you could get away with just cycling through these same group of 5 guys for a few weeks on waivers, and start whoever has the best matchup until you essentially land on a guy. But I don't know how you would approach that, Greg.
Yeah, I agree with you. Ayuk, I wouldn't say necessarily he's a drop candidate yet. Um, if I'm gonna drop someone, it would be Gallup. If you're like, especially if you have IR spots or limited in the injury department or bench. He's not coming back for a couple more weeks. The Cowboys just lost Dak Prescott. Like his value automatically just went down, and he's not even back on the field yet. So if I'm gonna drop someone, it would be Gallup for one of these guys. I think all these guys are in that wide receiver 3 territory right now. With Dodson having some upside, Robbie Anderson could have some upside as well. Um, yeah, but you hold him definitely.
Yeah, I would hold Ayuk. I didn't even realize that it was Gallup or Ayuk. So yeah, I would
Yeah,
drop Gallup because this, like you said, the
yeah,
situation he's coming back to. Like, what is he really coming back to? Do
yeah.
you want to
Word.
invest in that offense? So, and then I mean, seems like to me like you need guys. I mean, you have Chase, you have Juju, but Godwin's injured. Hopkins is suspended. So to me, I think I would take a shot on Dotson. I mean, I know he was somebody that was high on going into the week, but I think he's got the clearest path to targets and opportunities. Robbie Anderson, I mean, yes, he has a clear path for sure. But I think Dodson probably has more upside because Robbie Anderson. I don't know, maybe not. I go back and forth on it.
Yeah. I think you can go
You can go back
back and
and
forth
forth
with
on it
that.
because every
Yeah,
argument you could make against Robbie Anderson, you can make against Jahan Dotson and vice versa. So I think it would be a matchup based thing for me, especially with the being a shallow league,
yeah,
10 minutes. I'm assuming they're probably only starting 2 wide receivers and maybe a flex. Um, I would I would start Chase. I mean, hopefully you're strong at running back. I would start Chase, drop Gallup, and then grab which one of these wide receivers have the best matchup going into week 2.
I agree. And
Waivers
just
in a little bit, and
so that does help.
I didn't catch that, Greg. Sorry.
Washington's got Detroit next week.
There you go. So, I mean, if you stick around for waivers, Greg will break down all of the waiver wire stuff for us here. But let's move on through these running backs. And
Yes,
so
sir.
we were finished. We left off with DeAndre Swift. So I'm rounding out these top 12 running backs here. 5, Clyde Edwards-Helaire 6, Dontrell Hilliard 7, Joe Mixon 8, AJ Dillon 9, Antonio Gibson 10, James Robinson 11, and Miles Sanders coming in as the RB 12. Greg, any of these guys stick out to you in the top 12?
Definitely Clyde. I mean, that's definitely a really good bounce back performance for him and starting the season strong. And Antonio Gibson for sure that you're happy to see that, especially his pass game activity. That could bring back a lot of good value to him. That we wanted the last couple of years because he did play wide receiver and he has those skills for sure. And Miles Sanders for sure as well. Getting one of his best weeks in a while. He scored a touchdown, which he hasn't done in a very long time. So this could be some beginning for a strong RB2 year for Miles Sanders.
Definitely, yeah. James Robinson coming back his first game from the torn Achilles, landing in the top 12. I mean, it was a good week, and he was mainly the guy there in terms of the running
Yeah,
back usage and opportunities. AJ Dillon, I mean, that's a guy that I've been talking about ad nauseum here on the show. He was my running back. He's my guy. Yeah, AJ Dillon was my guy. But yeah, so
beast.
definitely love that there. Starting out early, and then some honorable mentions there, man. Michael Carter
Yep.
coming in through in PPR format, 17 PPR points. The RB13, James Conner as well. Leonard Fournette, who ran his tail off against the
Yeah,
Leonard Fournette and Nick Chubb, by the way,
yeah,
absolute monsters. They each scored over 15 PPR points, and each only had Nick Chubb had 1 reception, Leonard Fournette had 2, 10
neither had a
yards.
touch.
Neither
Yeah,
had a touchdown.
crazy. That's
It
just
was
straight
like
rushing right there.
Russian. So standard scoring, they were probably great.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then that's pretty much it. Oh, Rex Burkhead coming through, finishing as an RB2, man. That was big
me
time.
too. Yeah, we definitely set the slow the brakes on Pierce for a little bit. Yeah, because Rex Burkhead is always involved.
Speaking of Damian Pierce, he ends up in the running backs, the Jags section of the running backs. There's just the guys. I mean, he's definitely one of the guys that depending on where you got him, he
Yeah, you
was,
probably forced to
depending on
start him
when you
against Shiv.
drafted, right? If you drafted in July, August, you probably are feeling,
Right.
he's probably sitting on your bench,
Yeah.
But if you drafted, I don't know, last week,
ADP was flying.
But anyway, so the rest of these Jags here: Aaron Jones, Austin Eckler, Travis Etienne, Mike Davis, Brees
Alvin
Hall,
Kamara,
Chase Edmonds, Alvin Kamara, who's Greg's start of the week, Josh Jacobs,
Derrick
Derrick
Henry.
Henry,
Oh
David
man.
Montgomery. It was a bad running back week for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, for
Definitely
sure.
for sure. Of these guys, are you concerned? Aaron Jones, Austin Eckler. Probably. What's your concern level there with those guys?
Not concerned at all. I think the only running back that you drafted in like the first 3 rounds, 4 rounds that I'm worried about is Zeke. Especially because, yeah, I don't know. Just this, of course, the situation is not going to help. Dak being out, that brings down everyone, and he was already almost splitting time with Tony Pollard as far as touches and stuff like that. So yeah, he's in that becoming more of a low B RB2 than kind of that strong RB2 that you wanted that you drafting.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could just. I think you just say it, Greg. He's like an RB3 at that point, right? He's an RB3 flex. That's what he was last time. We've watched this story before.
Crazy.
Like, we've seen this movie. It was not that long ago, right? Like
Crazy.
This did not end well. So yeah, I would be trying to sell my Zeke shares if I could. Yeah, I mean, Austin Eckler, not concerned with him. Derrick Henry, not concerned with him either. I mean, Brees Hall, if you drafted him highly, you kind of, I mean, we said that this would probably happen. So
Yeah, Michael Carter's a play, and he ended up actually having a good day.
yeah. So Josh Jacobs, that's one that I don't know how much Josh Jacobs you have, Greg. I have zero.
Nah, 0.
But
Yeah.
he is not somebody that I think we were targeting mainly because we knew that Josh McDaniels was going to come in and make this a committee. And so we saw Brandon Bolden, we saw Josh Jacobs. We did not see Amir Abdullah, so he also ends up on this list and dropped from my rosters. So
both Patriots running backs too.
Yeah, both Patriots running. That game was ugly though. That game was ugly. So yeah, it's just not a good game. For the Patriots, but
right.
I feel like somebody here knew that. Sorry, I just had to get that one in because I've just this whole idea of putting Matt Patricia as the offensive coordinator is just mind-boggling.
That is wild. That is wild.
So I'm just gonna keep taking my shots on it until something happens that makes me change my mind. But yeah, moving on to these wide receiver studs, and I don't know, man. There's this guy. It's pretty good in Minnesota playing wide receiver. His name is Justin Jefferson. 9 catches, 11 targets, 184 receiving yards, 2 touchdown receptions, 39.4 PPR points. Greg, what do you have to say about the man known as Justin Jefferson?
It just felt like I haven't seen someone that open since Cooper Kupp. Usually Cooper Kupp's the only man I see that open on these routes. He was so open on a lot of them, just creating separation at the line. It didn't matter. He was uncoverable. I would have started triple teaming at some point. It just seemed like he cannot be stopped, and Kirk Cousins got it to him every time. 180. I thought he was gonna have 200 easy because he had the 150 by like half. So thought that was gonna be one of those insane days. But yeah, this is something we expected. We both have him out as our number 1 receiver. Like, he is a fantasy changer. He wins games for people. He's like up there with the Mahomes as far as a fantasy impact to a team, where he can change losses to wins every time, or wins to losses for other people.
Are you Scott Hansen over there? The witching hour?
The witching hour, yo. Yo, the moment he said that too, all the games went crazy too, yo. It was wild.
Yeah, he says it every
I know.
week.
I know. It gets crazy. All the kickers just started getting. It seemed like they were witched, the kickers.
Oh man. All right, let's yeah, Justin Jefferson, he was great. He was fantastic. I mean, like you said, he was wide open, and like you said, it was similar to Cooper Kupp. Like, everybody knows. I don't have to say like, oh, I was the one that said it, but everybody knows that Kevin O'Connell is with the Vikings, was with the Rams. Like, this was gonna happen. And yeah, we're all witnesses. It's great to see. I mean, he's going to put up
Beautiful.
similar production to what Cooper Kupp did last year, and it's going to be fantastic. Just pray to God you stay healthy.
He only had 11 targets. Like, it's crazy.
I mean, imagine if Green Bay made it a game.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yo. Oh man.
There was an interesting quote from Jair Alexander, though. Don't know if you saw that.
No, I did not.
They asked why he didn't follow him like Justin Jefferson, and he said, "Anybody who watches me play knows that that's the way I play. That's my style of play, or that's what I would have wanted. But it's like the end of the day, it's not my decision." Something like that. I'm paraphrasing. So probably calling out the defensive game plan a little bit. I mean, to be honest, is like a DFS player. That was like the only thing the only reason in my mind I could not play Jefferson. I mean, I played Justin Jefferson, but like the only reason I
There's not a
wouldn't.
lot of shadows in the league anymore, though. In general, it's not how it used to be, man. The islands are not there, yo.
I mean, we still got a few, man. I mean,
Got a
30.
few.
We got a few. We got a few, like the Marshawn Lattimores of the world, and Denzel Ward, and there's a few. There's a few. We'll see. We'll see. It's one game, 1 week. Let's see more football get played.
Nah. J Jeff is about to do this every week, though.
Oh, every week.
Oh yeah.
I'm not concerned about JJ. I'm just talking about everybody else.
Oh yeah.
The wide receiver 2 on the week, Cooper Kupp. We talked about this the other day, but 13 catches, 15 targets, 128 receiving yards, 1 touchdown reception, 31.8 PPR points. Greg, anything else to add on Cooper Kupp's fantastic week 1?
No, yeah, this is what I expected. I mean, 1 and 2. That's the start of week 1, and the preseason 1 and 2. That's lovely right there. That's how you want it. The stars do what they have to do, and yeah, he's 15 targets. That's normal for Cooper Kupp at this point.
Most definitely. And then at wide receiver 3 on the week, Devonte Adams, 10 receptions, 17 targets, 141 receiving yards, 1 touchdown reception, 30.1 PPR points on the week. Greg, your thoughts on the performance here by one of the best receivers in football?
Devonte, I mean, just does every time. One of my favorite receivers to watch. 17 targets, got the most out of the 3 of them. So, oh man, it's just these monsters all year. He's also a difference maker.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he was just a target vacuum at one point. I think Hunter Renfrow and Darren Waller had 6 apiece, so it was just all day to Devonte.
All day.
And then rounding out the wide receiver position, Jamar Chase comes in at 4, Michael Pittman comes in at 5, Stephon Diggs 6, AJ Brown 7, Michael Thomas comes in at 8, Devin Duvernay 9, Robbie Anderson 10, Amon-Ra St. Brown 11, and Curtis Samuel 12. I know Greg is loving it. My guy, Michael Pittman, coming in at 5, and his breakout, Amon-Ra St. Brown, coming in at 11. Greg, which of these performances, I mean, of course, along with those 2, stuck out?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I love the names that are in here. Stephon Diggs showed out, like the big time names. AJ Brown, the ones you drafted in the first couple of rounds are here. Jamar Chase, oh man, Amon-Ra and Michael Pittman. Yeah, those 2 are definitely young stars in this game at the wide position. And Gabe Davis, good to see him up there as well, close to that honorable mention.
Yeah, he came in at 13. I mean, the one that sticks out to me, man, Michael Thomas, man, coming in as a wide receiver 8, right? Like, I know he's a guy that I have a decent amount of Michael Thomas just across different leagues, and just to see that performance, to see it come through, the value that we were getting on him was just really, really good there. So love that. Yeah, and another honorable mention, his teammate Jarvis Landry, who you were all about. I was like, I don't know, I don't want to play Jarvis, but you like to play Jarvis. I like to go play those high upside guys, but Jarvis came through, man. 7 catches on nine targets, 114 yards. Definitely came through. Another guy, I got to talk about it. Jahan Dodson, 2 touchdown receptions, finished as a wide receiver 16, tied with Tyreek Hill there, scoring 18 PPR points. Like I said, 3 catches, 40 yards, 2 touchdown receptions. Love that performance by him. And like I said on Saturday, was it Saturday? No, it was Thursday. Greg's going to talk about him later. So anyway, moving on. Any other honorable mentions here, Greg?
No, I mean that was pretty the Waddle man, Jalen Waddle out here. Yes, doing what he got to do. Yeah, so that was good to see.
Yeah, definitely love that. And then Marquis Brown, he was start of the week for me. It was underwhelming. Got out targeted by Greg Dortch. we did bring up. Oh, Terry McLaurin, yeah.
Well, obviously 26-9 to be like upset about, but like,
I mean, you when you made him your start of the week, you weren't like wide receiver 26.
Nah.
So, I think I'll throw my wide receiver start of the week in this bucket too, because I mean he was kind of a jag, right? Like if you could start Sterling Shepard, DeAndre Carter, Jahan Dotson, Curtis Samuel, like Robbie Anderson, Devin Duvernay. If you can start these guys over Hollywood Brown, I'm going to call you a jag. I'm sorry. That's what it is. Marquis,
we're back.
Any other Jags that stick out to you, Greg?
I mean, my wide receiver bust of the year, DJ Moore.
Yes.
Definitely doesn't help.
Elijah Moore. Darnell Mooney, Brandon Ayuk. I know T. Higgins got injured, so that was one. CeeDee Lamb, again, we could blame the Dak injury, but it was not the Dak injury. Like, my man had 12 targets.
Yeah, that's true. Had a couple of drops too.
Yeah, it was not good. And then Mike Williams, who people were asking where he was, if he was invisible, and if he still played for the Chargers because Keenan Allen's injured.
Especially with Keenan Allen hurt, yeah, word. Hunter Renfrow as well.
Hunter Renfrow for sure, yeah. I said he was a top 10 play. Guess not. Yeah, that's pretty much. I mean, wide receivers there's always going to be a lot. But
yeah,
I think. Oh, sorry, I forgot to mention on honorable mentions Christian Kirk because I don't want that one to go unnoticed. I'm sure. I don't know if he's a guy we're bringing up later, but 12 targets. 12 targets, 6 catches, 117 yards. He's somebody that definitely is someone we should pay attention to if we're not. Tight end studs. And is there any surprise, Greg, who the tight end one is? Any shock? No, none whatsoever. Travis Kelce, 8 catches, 9 targets, 121 receiving yards, 1 touchdown reception, 26.1 PPR points there. Thoughts, Greg?
I mean, when Pat Mahomes is going to be one, especially this year, Travis Kelce is probably going to be one with him at his position. I feel like this is a broken record. We've done tight end one Travis Kelce on these rankings so many times. Like, there's nothing more I can say about him. He's a man. He does what he has to do every week for the people. That we took one every year.
We took a break last year a little bit. Mark Andrews was going through his tear.
True.
But for the years prior, since we've been doing this show, it's been every week coming on here when we do this tight end segment, talking about how great Travis Kelce is. Like every week. To the point where if he finished like the tight end 3 or 4, we would be like, whoa. Like he should be on the Jags list because his standard is higher than every other tight end, right? He should be the tight end 1. So, yeah,
and the gap is crazy. Like,
oh, man. I mean, and then when you think about like, okay, the tight end 2, OJ Howard, what was his day like? Let's see, 2 targets, 2 catches, 38 yards and 2 touchdowns, 17.8 PPR points. Greg, are you going to pick up OJ Howard and start him next week?
If I'm in like a 16 or 18 team league, maybe. I mean, I could make the argument I'm dropping Mike Gesicki for him or like Irv Smith. So like, possibly.
Man. I know this guy might get picked up in some leagues. It's Taysom Hill. 1 reception, 1 target, 2 yards. But that's not what Taysom Hill does best. 4 carries, 81 yards, and a touchdown, 15.3 PPR points. Greg, your thoughts on the performance by Taysom Hill?
Bro, Alvin Kamara, us like guys are just always going crazy, man. He definitely steals a lot of rushing and stats from him, but yeah, Taysom Hill. It's just always tough when is that game to start him, but like in Dynasty, I think I'm gonna just start playing him now. It's like I don't know what I'm doing. Like he's just a guy that could just explode anytime. But yeah, I mean, he's like one of the worst people that like in fantasy, like to have in fantasy because you don't know when it's gonna happen. And you're not gonna that when it doesn't happen, you're just gonna be so upset that you started like a guy that got like doesn't play that many snaps, but like it's just such a good gadget player.
Yeah, it's tough, man, but his upside is like different than a lot of other tight ends upside because
he'd be great for best ball.
He'd be great for best ball for sure, but just from a season-long perspective, like if you don't have a tight end that you are like that you want to roster, like, and hear me out, just hear me out. What if you roster Taysom Hill as a second tight end, right? Like where maybe you'll play Taysom Hill if you think the Saints are going to be up big, like they're going to score a lot of points, and you're like, all right, well, Taysom Hill, I could start him in those situations. But if there's basically if there's a streaming option available that's in a good matchup, stream them. If not, play Taysom Hill. Because the upside.
I agree with Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is weak though. I agree with you on that.
For sure. But hear this last point though. If Jameis Winston were to get injured, because my brain was going through this on Sunday when Jameis got hurt.
He did.
It's like, okay, Andy Dalton's going to become the quarterback. That means I feel like the usage of these Taysom Hill packages may go up. I don't know, but he's kind of got this built-in upside where now you could have the potential quarterback or backup quarterback or, in your tight end spot. So it's just something to think about. If you have a deep roster in a deep league and you're in trouble at tight end.
Yeah.
Moving on to the rest of the tight end studs. Gerald Everett comes in at 4. Dalton Schultz 5. Pat Freiermuth 6. Darren Waller, my tight end star of the week. I'm going to call you a Jag, though. Tight end 7. Zach Ertz, tight end 8. Tyler Conklin, my stream of the week. Tight end tied with Zach Ertz with tight end 8. Mark Andrews, tight end 10. You'll also probably end up a Jag. Greg's stream of the week, Hayden Hurst, coming as a tight end 11. And then Greg's start of the week. Greg's start of the week. Dallas Goedert coming in as a tight end 12, which I think is okay. I think
I mean, tight end 1, whatever,
Yeah.
If you play Travis Kelce, though, you're not happy. But only one team in the league plays Travis Kelce.
Yeah, I mean,
12.
Yeah. I mean, if you took my advice, you started Tyler Conklin, maybe you won by 2 points. I don't know.
Oh, maybe.
Or if you took your stream of the week, you would have won by 0.6 points.
True.
No, but Dallas Goedert was fine. I think, 4 targets. We didn't talk about an interesting wide receiver jag, though, and that was Devonte Smith, who had 0 points.
Oh, man. That's why, because it was just forgetful. Like,
it was forgetful. Talking about Casper.
Oh, man, yo. And I'm like, the Eagles are putting up numbers, too. Like, they put up 38 points on the day. I thought they were going to have another, 40-point day easy. And I don't know. He wasn't that targeted that much. A.J. Brown is just a dog.
Well, staying back on topic, Greg, any of these top 12 tight ends performances stick out to you?
Definitely like Pat Frymouth always in there. Definitely liked him coming into the year, and also Jared Everett liked him also coming into the year as well. Think anything attached to Herb I want. So
Yeah, Frymouth was a surprising one for me. The 10 target number, that's the number that's surprising, right? I don't.
yeah,
But if that volume is going to be there every week, then that's fantastic for sure. Because my problem with Frymouth was not ability; it was how many targets is he going to get and how many red zone touchdowns are going to be available to him. So if Frymouth gets those targets, I'm all in. Dalton Schultz, I think he's going to be. I think he'll be safe regardless of what happens at quarterback.
I agree.
Maybe you can try to like pry the Dalton Schultz from like the Dalton Schultz manager. Maybe like, hey, I don't know. Would you give up like Hayden Hurst for Dalton Schultz?
In a trade,
Yeah.
um, is someone
Or like let's say Dalton Schultz gets dropped and you have Hayden Hurst. Are you gonna pick him up for you gonna
yeah,
drop
I
Hayden
think I would
Hurst to
do
pick
that.
up
Yeah,
Schultz?
yeah. I think I would do that.
Yeah, I think I would do that too.
Yeah,
All right, moving on to the tight end Jags. Kyle Pitts probably starts the list. But I don't know. I didn't think the matchup was great for him. Um, I wasn't in love with it, so I didn't wasn't really surprised by the bad performance per
he's
se.
got to be
But
matchup proof.
yes, we would like them to be matchup proof for sure, for sure. But I don't know. We'll see. If people are panicking on
Now,
Kyle Pitts, I'm buying.
yeah. I mean, I'm here to buy for sure. If it's low, anything that's good for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm willing to buy. TJ
Yeah,
Hawkinson, tight end 14, wasn't fantastic, but also not
no,
a guy that I like in the matchup. I didn't think the matchup was as good as it looked on paper, as well. So, and then Darren Waller, Mark Andrews, like we talked about.
yeah,
Um, and then let's jump into the news and the injuries. Obviously, we talked about the Dak Prescott one, out 6 to 8 weeks with a injured right thumb. Then there's San Francisco running back Elijah Mitchell, who's out 2 months with an MCL injury. Tampa Bay wide receiver Chris Godwin, he's expected to miss some time with a hamstring injury. Which actually, if you were watching that game live, I thought he re-injured his ACL, which definitely would have been the worst case. I think this was, they the Bucks consider themselves lucky in this situation. And Chargers wide receiver Keenan Allen, as we talked about before, he's questionable going into Thursday Night Football with a hamstring injury there. So, um, that being said, Greg, how does why don't we jump into the waivers there and give us a rundown of some of the guys that we're targeting at the quarterback spot?
yeah. We're starting with the quarterback. Talking about the quarterback that's currently the QB3, Carson Wentz. He is 12% rostered in Yahoo Fantasy Leagues. I mean, he had a great start to the season, 27-41, as you mentioned, 313 and 4 touchdowns. I mean, he spread the ball very well, got it to 7 different pass catchers. He's got, I think, an excellent matchup versus Detroit in week 2. Put up, let up 38 points to the Eagles just yesterday. Jameis Winston, a guy we're just gonna keep having on this list until he hits that over 50% mark. He's at 46%. QB sleeper of the year, guy we're both high on as a stream this week. Continues to kill the Falcons. QB7 had the QB comeback. TD percentage at 5.8%. I mean, continuing to have a high percentage as a New Orleans Saint. So got to keep that going. Matt Ryan, I think for deeper leagues and super flex, he could be an option for next week. I mean, he at 43% rostered. He should have 2 touchdowns. He threw over 350 Alec Pierce dropped a touchdown in the end zone. That was a pretty easy catch for him. So I think he was one touchdown away from having a decent day. I think the chemistry will grow with his new teammates, and you definitely love having 350 passing yards.
Yeah, for sure. Love those options there. Who does Miami play next week?
Miami. Who does Miami play this week?
Is it Minnesota or does Minnesota play Philly? I think Minnesota plays Philly.
Miami plays Baltimore next week.
Oh, okay. Because I'm curious, what are your thoughts on Tua?
Well, now that they're playing Baltimore, I mean, it's probably on the road too. I think I'd rather start Carson Wentz over Tua next week. Or, yeah, I think against Detroit, the way their secondary is, I think I'll take that matchup. Jameis probably be up in the air right now, but I still probably take Tua over Matt Ryan.
That's fair. That's fair for
Yeah.
sure. What about running back, Greg? Who do you got there?
Definitely number one with the news you just mentioned about Eli Mitchell, Jeff Wilson Jr., 16% rostered. I think he's my number one waiver wire position option this week. That now that Eli Mitchell's out, Wilson's going to be in line for the most targets in this offense. I think he got it after Mitchell's injury, and a good running offense that will be pretty solid. I think Jeff Wilson's into that low end RB2 territory right away. We'll have room for upside because of touchdowns. Jamal Williams, 47% rostered. Not only is a great safety net for DeAndre Swift, if anything happened, he just still received that goal line work that you talked about. Got 11 carries on the day, so he's still involved. He was a guy they know we have in a league that he's been an eye for a couple of people just preseason. So definitely a reason why he's 47% rostered, but a good option for some depth. Rex Burkhead, 13% rostered. Finished, currently the RB22 after week one, had 14 carries, the most on the team, played 71% of the snaps, had 5 receptions on 8 targets for 30 yards. I think when we were saying, pump the brakes on Damian Pierce a little bit, I think Burkhead is definitely an RB3 option right now, and the one you want to roster out of the two in the backfield. Khalil Herbert, I think, RB24 he finished this week in PPR leagues. Even though Montgomery got most of the work, 17 carries to Herbert's 9. Herbert was the better running back, running wiles yesterday, almost averaging 5 yards per rush. I think he's going to continue to grow, and I think he's an instant RB1 if Montgomery was to get injured or anything was to happen. And you never know how it could be. It could be a Tony Pollard Zeke situation where Herbert just continues to grow in that offense and gets more touches and carries. Kenyon Drake, he's 12% rostered in Yahoo leagues. Kenyon Drake had the most work in J.K. Dobbins' absence, had 12 touches. Dobbins, as we alluded to early in the week, could be a few more weeks away. So that adds to some depth, especially if you're the J.K. Dobbins manager. And the last two, Kenneth Gainwell and Isaiah Pacheco, I think those are guys that are some deep league safety net options that if you're, I guess, rostering Miles Sanders or Clyde Edwards-Helaire, or just want some depth just in case something
Even if you're
happens.
not,
If you're not, those are guys that I think have clear RB2 upside if they get opportunity as far as injuries or just if anything happens. Yep.
yeah, no, I mean, again, like if we used to talk about this all the time, but you make your bench, just take your bench and like fill it with backup running backs,
Yeah.
and like
Yeah.
sometimes like it's the most injury prone position in football, or one of the most injury prone positions in football, and so those guys tend to go down. We see it all the time, right? Like how long did it take for
Eli Mitchell.
Elijah
Yeah.
Mitchell to go down, right?
Yeah.
So like
Yep.
we had a scare with Najee Harris, right? Like we thought that he was going to go down, right? So by the way, Jalen Warren is the backup.
Yes. That was a name I was gonna add to that after. Yeah.
Yeah, no. So like, yeah, no. He's just so people know, right? Because people might
Yeah.
think it's Andy Snell or Anthony McFarland, but it's Jalen Warren, who is the RB2 in Pittsburgh. So just keep that in mind when you're looking for these backup running backs. But uh, I'm not really that into Jeff Wilson. You know, I get it. I get why we want to be into it, but for me, it's just like we talked about even before this matchup with Trey Lance. You know what the rushing upside does with him, or you know the rushing splits, right? What he does to the team splits. We talked about, you know. Then there's also the Deebo Samuel factor, right? Like,
Yeah.
He's gonna start getting involved, and then I'm actually, because of what it's gonna cost to get Jeff Wilson on my team, right? Like I almost would rather wait and get like I mean, if you're using Fab, like I'd almost rather like try to get like Jordan Mason or Tyrion Davis Pierce, right? Like one of those guys, because they're not going to cost as much. And Kyle Shanahan does what Kyle Shanahan wants, right? Like we could all sit
This is
here.
true.
I mean, how many times have we said like, "Oh, this guy's the guy to go get," and then
And then Jermichael Hasty comes out of nowhere.
yeah, like so yeah, it's definitely interesting. This person is asking, Nathan is asking, would you trade CD? I'm assuming that's CD Lamb and
Yeah.
DJ Shark for Keenan Allen, and I would do that in a heartbeat. I mean, assuming Keenan Allen is healthy and there's no issues there, I would do that in a heartbeat. But what say you, Greg?
Yeah, I think I agree. I mean, Keenan Allen's upside when healthy is gonna be higher than CD now that Dak is out for sure. And you know, DJ Shark had a nice week, but you know, he's still not the alpha dog in the offense. I think I'm gonna say Bra has that. So I think to upgrade that your wide receiver one is worth it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, again, wide receivers are going to come down to situations a lot of times, right? Like, you know, CeeDee Lamb is a great player. And I'm sure if he were on the Chargers, I'd love to have him on my fantasy team, but he's not, and he'll be catching passes from Cooper Rush. And so if I can, I would rather take, you know, think of this as like investing your money in a company, right? Would you rather invest in, you know, a company where Cooper Rush is the CEO or where Justin Herbert is the CEO? And I want to invest in the company where Justin Herbert is the CEO. So give me Keenan Allen, right? That's how I want to. And plus with this, the game within the game, right? Because that's what fantasy is a lot of times. You get a roster spot, like
You do. Yeah, you
you
do.
get a roster spot to add one of these guys that we're talking about. So yeah, I would totally do this. I would totally do this trick. Again, assuming Keenan Allen is healthy, because that's the most important thing. If Keenan Allen doesn't play this week, you know you're not going to get fantasy points. So yeah, definitely something to consider there. Thanks for the question. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, I agree with everything else though for sure. What about wide receivers, Greg? What do you got there?
So we're starting with the Commanders wide receivers. Curtis Samuel, he's 4% rostered. Jahan Dodson, he's 23% rostered in Yahoo leagues. I mean, Carson Wentz, we talked about him, his 41 pass attempts. He's going to add more passing volume to this team, and I think that adds value to the pass catchers outside of Terry McLaurin. So Samuel, he led the team in targets with 11 and receptions with 8. He was the week one wide receiver 12. Fellow rookie teammate Jahan Dodson had 2 big time touchdowns in his 3 receptions. This, you know, just because of that, off that, Carson Wentz going to trust him more. That should create more opportunities for him. I think both are around that, you know, wide receiver 3 value. I think Dodson has a lot more upside to give, but I think, you know, consistently, I think Samuel could give you a good floor.
Yeah, definitely like both those guys for sure. Um,
Yes,
what else you got
Devin
at the wide receiver spot, Greg?
Devin Duvernay, he's 31% rostered. Finished the day with 2 touchdowns, had 4 receptions on 4 targets for 54 yards. I mean, you know, I think his ceiling is also has some upside for more. I mean, Hollywood Brown had 146 targets last year. I mean, that's opened up room for him and Bateman. I think Devin Duvernay could have some flex weeks in later in the season. DJ Shark, 40% rostered, had the second most targets on the team at 8, on a defense who's, definitely not very good. Detroit's still struggling a lot, so there'll be a lot of opportunity where they're playing from behind. Jared Goff's going to have to sling the ball. With the healthy season, I mean, I think his body and talent could provide some wide receiver 3 weeks and wide receiver 3 value. And lastly, the Chargers wide receivers DeAndre Carter and Joshua Palmer. This is for deep league. I mean, we'll probably get more information on Keenan Allen's status tomorrow, since it's a Thursday night game. But these are some options that could help you in a Thursday night game against the Kansas City Chiefs, where the over/under is going to be over 50, at least 52. So those guys could probably help you as a dart throw.
Yeah, we're always looking for those wide receivers that are in high scoring matchups. And there's always going to be weeks on here where we talk about wide receivers that, we may not have drafted highly in our fantasy leagues, or we may not have, heard a ton of about, but they happen to have a good matchup. They tend to happen to be in a high scoring game, and they might be attached to a superstar quarterback, right? So, a lot of times that's what's going to help our decision making process. And that game has a 54 and a half total. So yeah, I think that I would be inclined to play one of those guys that's catching footballs from an alien and Justin Herbert. I want to play those guys.
Facts, yo.
Yeah, I mean Robbie Anderson, Devin Duvernay. I mean those are all those are great options as well. I mean, I think those are going to probably be a little more volatile week to week. Especially Duvernay, who plays on a good team. But like you said, those targets are going to be available for sure. So, what about the tight end spot, Greg? I know that's always going to be a tough one.
One more wide receiver I want to mention, Julio Jones. Now that Chris Godwin is little, Julio Jones. Just stop on Julio Jones. He might be back. Like just in general, like as far as physically, what he's able to do. Got some runs out of there, some jet sweeps. So Julio Jones is definitely a name I want to mention before we move to the tight ends.
Yeah, no, he's definitely. I mean, he's 62% rostered. So
That's higher than
he's
I thought it was.
up there for
Wow,
sure.
never mind.
But if he is available in your league, he would be probably my number one target, like regardless of position.
Yeah.
Because he looked like himself. He looked healthy. They said he had the fastest GPS time on the Bucks, but then I caught myself thinking like, what's the average age of the Bucks? Because I feel like they got a lot of older people on that roster. But anyway,
surprisingly, it was faster than Chris Godwin's one. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, Chris Godwin's coming off a torn ACL, so
True. Yeah.
probably just started running like 3 months ago. But they said Julio's on the TB12 diet, so
yes.
That's definitely good for them as well. Or good for Julio, I guess. I would never know. Never been on a TB12. I think you can't eat strawberries or something like that, and that was a no go for me. So, Greg, what about the tight ends? Anybody we are interested in?
Got 3 names for you. Jared Everett, 27% rostered. I know we mentioned him that I think keep an eye on him as a guy who, I mean, attached to Herbert. He's attached to Allen, so he can support multiple pass catchers. If Keenan Allen's hurt, that even helps him even more. He had 3 receptions for 54 yards and a touchdown. But hey, I said if you have Irv Smith Jr. or like Mike Gesicki, I'm moving on right away to Jared Everett. Hayden Hurst as well. He's 10% rostered, finished tied on 11 on the week, had 8 targets, played in 75% of the offensive snaps. This definitely will be the last week. Hayden Hurst finishes in the top 15 at the tight end position. And OJ Howard for those deep leagues. I mean, tight end 2, but if you're really desperate, I mean, predicting touchdown is very volatile. So this is definitely a deep league 14, 16 team option. OJ Howard, he's 1% roster, so he's basically free.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's gonna be tough. I would have to see the routes he ran. Like I'm gonna have very specific details here, criteria for OJ Howard if I have to roster him, because 2 catches, 38 yards, 2 touchdowns. I mean,
that's
tight end stat line that we will probably see a lot this year.
We will.
Anything else, Greg, that we want to add? That we want to, I know we had a long show, but we had some technical difficulties at the beginning, so we had to
True.
power through that. And it's week 1, so there's like a lot of football. There's a lot of reactions that we got to get to. So definitely, this show will get shorter as the weeks get longer. But Greg, anything else you want to add to what was a great weekend? What do you need anything tonight? Are you all good? Like in all your fantasy leagues? I know.
Yeah, I'm pretty good. I mean, got a lot of wins this week. I think 5-1. Looking like yeah, 2 of them we're sharing, so that's good for sure. Yeah, J Jeff made me sit back and relax for tonight. I mean, we have Russell Wilson in one of the leagues, so it can help for scoring and for tiebreakers and stuff like that. So we definitely want Russell Wilson to show out.
Had a question here from Shiv. How do I delete my team? Shiv suffered a tough loss there.
Did have
So,
Dak, didn't he? Right?
yeah, I think he had Dak. I think
Yep.
Shiv had Dak. Oh yeah, I checked because I was like, of course
Yeah.
Shiv has Dak because stuff like this always happens to Shiv. So,
Brutal.
Yeah.
I mean, now that it is a 1 quarterback league, you can go find one.
Yes, one of the things League of Extraordinary People, they voted against a Superflex league. So this was one of the first things I thought about when Dak got injured was now everyone's not going to cry about how there's no quarterbacks in the waiver wire. Carson Wentz is available, Shiv. So he lost Dak and Godwin. Sorry, brother. Can't help you there. Hey, come hit me up for DeAndre Hopkins if you want. He'll be back in a couple weeks. So
couple.
Like 5, but he's Saquon.
There we go.
All right, we're gonna wrap this up. Shiv, next time come in here sooner and we'll chat it up with you. But until next time, y'all, have a good one. Enjoy Monday Night Football. Russell Wilson. Did you see his suit? Oh my God, go look up that suit. Have a good one, everybody. Have a good one, everybody. We're out of here. Peace.
Yeah.